Okay folks, it's me again, back with another video for you today. And is carbon fiber, are carbon fiber seat posts worth it? And carbon fiber seat post failure. So this carbon fiber seat post I was riding with for quite a while, and as you can see, if I can find it now. There we go. Try to zoom in here. It's going to be probably hard to focus there. Okay, right there. See the crack? And you can't really see it now. It's only going long ways here, but the crack has started to go this way. And when you look down inside of it with a flashlight, you can actually see that crack. It's not just a surface crack, because as you can see here, carbon fiber is pretty thick, pretty heavy. It's a number of different sheets of carbon fiber laid on top of each other. So it's pretty heavy carbon fiber. In fact, I'm squeezing this right now. I cannot squeeze that piece there. So the power of my hand is not going to break this. It's not going to just crumple. Carbon fiber is pretty heavy duty. But I have an aluminum road bike, and obviously you have aluminum clamp, and you can see this is the line. Right here is the minimal insert line, and that's where I actually had the seat post at. Okay, so I had it at that level. Now this is a USE alien carbon seat post, very good quality. Very good clamping mechanism up here, single bolt. You could actually flip this around and have the bolt in the back if you wanted to. I had the bolt in the front. So I bought this. This is the original seat post, which is aluminum, a Ritchie seat post, which is a good seat post. It's not bad. It's a 2-bolt system, easy to adjust. The problem is every time you'd have to adjust the saddle or something, and I was adjusting quite a lot when I got the Adamo saddle. You'd have to loosen both sides and then adjust it. It was just kind of a pain in the butt. Whereas this, the way I had it set up was, and it was a smaller bolt here. I believe that's a 3mm. Yeah, it's a 3mm bolt. And you just adjust it from the front. So for a while I was riding, I would sit there and just adjust a little bit. And kind of just curves on that arc. As you tighten this bolt in, this tightens up. Obviously with the seat post in there, it's not going to be that tight. This is going to be closer to flush with here, just barely sticking out. Okay, but I had this, I rode with it for a while, and of course I had carbon paste that I had put on here. And what carbon paste is, it's tiny little balls of carbon in a paste. It's not a grease. It is literally. And when we say paste, then I'm not talking about like a glue, but it has kind of the texture of like almost like an Elmer's glue or a grease kind of in a way, and you put it on there, but it feels gritty. In fact, it almost feels like orange pumice, hand pumice, the cleaning stuff for degreaser. And you smear that on there, and I smeared it on this far because I knew I was going to be putting to this point. I smeared it up here a little bit to get it up beyond. And what it does is it allows you to not torque. The recommended torque spec is 5 Nm for your seat post clamp. But obviously this is going to take more torque than this thing will. So if I put this at 5 Nm, it's going to crack. So it allows me to put it at about 2 to 3 Nm. Or maybe like 3.5, possibly 4. And what it does is it crushes the little balls of carbon fiber that are in the carbon paste, and those make a bond between here and the seat post, or sorry, between the seat post and the seat post clamp. Okay, so, and of course you're only clamping on, as you can see, just this tiny little space here. Okay, because the seat post clamp isn't that big itself. So how did this happen then? If you actually look here, there's a piece of crack here and there's kind of a crack here. So if you look on the back of the bike, there's a little space cut out where they have the seat stay that comes up. And then there's a little cutout because when the clamp comes down, it has to kind of flex the aluminum around the seat post to actually tighten it. That's how you tighten it down. Okay. And after I talk about this, I'll kind of show you on the bike itself. But what happened was, at one point, I was readjusting this, and I was tightening it down, and I was at less than, because I have a torque wrench. I also have a little preset torque wrench. But I was using one of the little torque wrenches, and I got to 3 Newton meters, and I heard a tiny bit of a cracking, which meant that there was already a stress crack that had started to form. So I gently loosened up, and I was at a point at tightening it where if I could have still probably, if I would have tried to, I could have probably still moved this a little bit. So I was going to right to the point, and I would sit there and I'd try to move this a little bit. I'd go right to the point where I couldn't move it anymore, and I'd hear the little balls of carbon that are in the carbon paste just start to pop a little bit. You can kind of hear it a little bit. Well, just a little bit too much started to crack it. Well, I believe there's probably already a crack starting to form. Now, to let you know, this is a 31.6 millimeter seat post. Let's see if we can see it here. Well, I'll show you on this guy. If you can see on this Ritchie one, 31.6 millimeters by 350. 350 is this length, 31.6 is the diameter, okay? And there's all kinds of diameters, and the thicker the diameter around, and that diameter does not refer to the thickness of the material, it just refers to the outer diameter. The bigger the outer diameter, the more sturdy it is for heavier riders. And I am a heavier rider. There we go, 31.6 millimeters. Okay, so I am a heavier rider. I'm to the time of using the seat post, 230 pounds. So part of it I contribute to my weight. So that's letting you know. Now I thought about, well, maybe I should switch over to carbon fiber handlebars. That'd be really cool. But I have a feeling they would start to crack right where the stem would clamp onto it. Like right, if you're clamping your stem right here, it would start to crack in that area. I have a feeling. Unless I got a carbon fiber stem. And of course I have a carbon fiber fork. I have a carbon fiber stem. Now your carbon fiber fork is a lot thicker and heavier duty. I mean, it's like twice as much carbon fiber as what's on this thing. Because this has to be flexible. The whole point is this is to absorb shock to your saddle and thus increase comfort. So I have since, well, you say, well, you don't have your original seat post on there, so what are you riding on? Well, I went and bought another aluminum seat post, or 15, 20 bucks at the most. So I went and bought another one because I wanted a single bolt like this. So I bought a single bolt seat post and I put it on. Now I'm using that one. The interesting thing is, since I've switched to the Adamo saddle, actually I bought this right before the Adamo saddle, excuse me, and to increase comfort. Well, since I've been on the Adamo saddle, I switched back to aluminum seat post, and I really don't notice any difference in comfort between this and the aluminum. And I think that's probably because of my weight. Okay, so it doesn't really matter so much. It doesn't really do anything. You can see where the carbon fiber is really scratched up and scuffed up in here too. But this thing is really taking a beating. Now I put a lot of miles on this seat post. Okay, so now I kept riding with that crack for a little bit, but when I shine a flashlight in it, you can actually see where it's starting to crack around here. And eventually what would happen is all this pressure is pushing back. Eventually the crack would keep going around, and this would just snap off. and complete have catastrophic failure. And the last thing I want to be doing as I'm riding is catastrophic failure. The other thing too, so I found out that my seat post was a little bit low for my riding by about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. And it was because I had changed my pedal length, or sorry, my pedals, and I had changed obviously my crank arm length, and I never adjusted my saddle to that. So because of that, I had to raise my seat post up a little bit, and it would have actually been sitting on, it would have been clamping onto where that crack is. So I didn't want to do that. So, like I said, very expensive, kind of, well, a mistake, I should say. So, do I recommend carbon fiber seat post? Yes, if you don't weigh 220 to 230 pounds. If you weigh less than 200 pounds, yeah, go ahead, get yourself a nice, good carbon fiber seat post. Easton makes some good ones, and this was not a cheap seat post, by the way, folks. This is, you know, these are upwards of $150. So this was not a cheap seat post. I didn't order it online. I didn't get it from China. This is a very high quality carbon fiber seat post that I got from a very reputable, very good store. Now, can I take this back? Could I take it back? Well, that's kind of obvious. You can see it was cranked down just a little bit too much. But that just goes to show you how vital, right there, that goes to show you how vital the torque specs are for carbon fiber anything. And if you barely go over it, you can really ruin the carbon fiber. So carbon fiber, very vital, very important. Don't over torque it. And if you're too heavy, just don't use it, because you probably break it. Now, would I damage a carbon fiber bike? Probably not, because you're not clamping down on anything on the carbon fiber itself. But a lot of people that are heavier and they buy carbon fiber bikes, they get aluminum seat posts. And that way they're not, or if you're buying one of the seat posts like in Giant, they have like a wedge that locks the seat post in place. Those are the best kind. Anytime you're taking in, now if you're buying a road bike that has a very specific aero seat post, you're a heavier dude like me, and you're getting a bigger frame, that's one thing, because your seat posts are very large, they're oblong, they have special clamping mechanisms that are very specific. Make sure you use carbon fiber paste, and do not over torque. That is my big recommendation for you. If you got an aluminum bike and you want to switch over to carbon fiber seat post, I do not recommend doing it. Now, you can get some seat posts that have aluminum in the center, carbon fiber on the outside, which the carbon fiber, what it does is it absorbs vibrations in the road and allows for a slightly more comfortable ride. Those I do recommend. Those are very good. You're not going to, if you're to clamp too hard, the crack ain't going to do anything, because you still have aluminum underneath. Okay, you're not saving weight with them. All you're doing is you're saving, it's saving vibrations. It's getting rid of vibrations. So that I recommend. Now let's take a little trip and look at the bike. As you can see, that's what I'm talking about right there. You see that little groove in the aluminum. The seat post clamp goes over that, sits over that, and it tightens this down. So where the crack had actually started to form was right where that opening is. And that's kind of why I really, nowadays, I don't recommend carbon fiber seat posts with this type of bike. Can you get them? Yes. Can you use them? Yes. You're probably off better going getting a carbon fiber seat post clamp instead of the aluminum, and then possibly getting a insert to put in there. You can get some inserts, and then maybe just using a different size seat post. So that would be my recommendation. Just use an aluminum. If you're my weight, the weight savings you're going to get from a seat post like this isn't a lot. I mean, it is decent. This is extremely light. It's like nothing's there. I mean, the only aluminum is right up there. This seat post is a little heavier. Well, it's quite a bit heavier, okay? But it's a lot sturdier. You're not going to break this thing, okay? The worst that might happen is it might seize up in there. So get yourself a nice single bolt aluminum seat post. Use that, unless your bike comes with one. Or, like I said, if you have the type of bike that has where the you have the seat posts and they're like one of the triangle shaped seat posts, and then you have this little wedge that wedges in there. Like Jamis, the bike company that I have, the bike that I have, their carbon fiber seat posts that they use for their Zenith bikes, they have this little wedge, and it tightens in here. You have this bolt, and you screw down here, and it tightens this rubber and carbon fiber wedge that actually tightens into the seat post. So you can't. Could you over torque it? Sure, because you could break the wedge, but it won't break the seat post. It will only break the wedge. So that's what I recommend. Stay away from carbon fiber seat posts if you're a heavier person. If you're a lighter person, of course, go for it. But if you're a lighter person, you're probably going to be riding a lighter carbon fiber bike, unless you just don't have any money at all and you're short on cash. But that's what I would recommend. So folks, that's me, Skaggly Bones. That's it for me, folks. So you guys keep riding out there, keep on pedaling, and make sure you hit the subscribe button.